The smell of urine is overwhelming and hot, as if the sun beats down through the door out back and brings it to a slow boil. This is the place where in the nighttime people attack their own kind, as if the mix of gasoline and piss and spilt icy syrup is overstimulating, as if the darkness and the way it may seem so many miles from civilization, no matter how close, allows for a lapse in judgment. This is where the flavor of dissatisfaction lies on the tongue, where the taste of barbarism and savagery sinks into the taste buds. But this is not a place of sound. Everything here goes unheard. Every late-night visitor with no intentions other than the restroom and a 5-hour energy drink for the road avoids the sight of visitors obviously looking for trouble. This is where all mannerisms of the civil man are lost, where when the sun's light fades, anything goes. The man who works nights at the Shell 7-Eleven combo in the outskirts of Houston knows this. He is aware of the terrible things he'd heard of happening before he began work here, and the equally horrible things that have occurred since his employment. These are the things that exhaust him, things he used to prevent that he now ignores. He's become a worse person, he thinks, since working here, yet this is easy to dismiss. It is on a Thursday night that he hears screaming and weeping in the parking lot, and turns off his hearing aids and recalls the first time he had encountered one of these atrocities. He had been walking behind the building to check on a young girl that had taken the bathroom key and had not returned yet. This was not long into his job, and he'd heard of kleptomaniacs before, so without giving her the benefit of the doubt, he'd walk back to make sure that she was even there. He did not even walk into the back area of the lot before he saw something nearly as frightening as the distinct memory of flying shrapnel and carnage from his young adulthood. It was the clash of skin and skin, tears and tongue, reddening wrists in the grasp of large, calloused hands. "Hey, what the hell are you doing?" he had asked, cautiously at first, as he had stepped forward with all of his weight on his front foot in case the violence turned to himself. The horrendous grunting, like an ape, had ceased, and only loud, raspy sobbing could be heard before a deep voice had interrupted. "Get out of here, old man. You've got no business sticking your nose where it don't belong," this primate had said, and the older man can still remember the sight of bulging veins and lines of sweat, and the vermilion in the savage's cheeks. "Go on, get. I'm sure someone needs your help finding some shit in the store," he had spit. The old man had not been fearful. He had nothing to live for anymore, and this noble fight seemed well worth any potential damage. "Get off of the girl, and I will take her and leave," he had carefully pronounced every syllable, his speech slow and flawless. The ape had not moved. His grip on the still weeping woman had tightened, and his eyes had narrowed, but he stayed in that menacing, penetrative spot. He stayed with his forearm pressed to this poor girl's face so her cheek squished against the bricks. He did not falter, because, and the old man was aware, he knew he could not be touched if it would harm the girl. "Now, why would I go and do that?" the barbarian had asked, and this playful tone had taken over his voice. A lilt added to his strong accent made him sound amused, and at the same time threatening. The truth was, the old man did not have an answer, and the wide grin on the assailant's face had proved that he knew. It was only when this old man, seemingly so frail in nature, had taken off his yellow shell vest and the button down underneath, and revealed the white wife-beater that was no longer white but yellow with sweat, that his gap-toothed grin had faded. "Okay, old man, this was going to be a victimless crime," the big brute began, to which the woman let out a wail. "But you're a problem," he finished, and stepped away from the woman, and zipped up his pants, and he had stepped closer to the old man. He had been much taller and larger when he was no longer hunched over, the man remembers, and he had immediately gone for a punch. It had hit the man square in the chest, but he did not fall back, and when he saw the woman running as fast as she could to her car, he let himself be beaten for her, so the man could not follow her once he was done, and once he'd been beaten half to death, the man was finished with him. "I'd kill you right here," the oaf had snarled, "but you're not worth the effort." The old man had laughed through blood. "I do not fear death," he had coughed. "I only fear death without purpose." Now, however, after that beating, the man is weak. He would do nothing but give the victims of savagery false hope, so he chooses not to see or hear it. He turns off his hearing aids and mops the floors, because of all the things he is aware of, he is most aware that evil cannot ever be truly stopped.